Everything is on the website. If you want, you have all the programs from the 9 schools so far. The 10th is the next one. So there you can see how it has evolved. And this year will be challenging. We have many new things. And of course, the vision from Latin America may be different from Nigeria and Africa. So that's part of the challenge, and to reflect, because if not, it doesn't make sense for the students. If you only go to global things, they need the local flavor.
Excellent.
And I have to leave now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Olga. Adam, please.
How about you?
Cool. Yes, so Adam Peake, I can. I just wanted to mention some of the things that we do from the ICANN's perspective, and it gives an idea of the sort of issues we see around the world. So we're involved with a lot of the SIGs, one way or the other. ICANN either sponsors some activities, we tend to send a lot of staff as speakers. Quite often we're involved in the administration and development of curriculum or evaluation of fellowships and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of work that happens from all of the different regions. So not all of the SIGs, but a lot of the SIGs either have sponsorship staff, speakers, administrative help, or whatever it would be. Yeah, we are seeing a proliferation of SIGs. So it would be very, very helpful to start to see some sort of commonality or understanding of what is the curriculum of these things. Because at the moment they seem to be all over the place. There's general academic type of training, introductions to internet governance, reviews by industry people who seem to be there, all kinds of different ways of looking at this. So some kind of standardization, or at least understanding what the curriculum really are, what you're trying to achieve in standards, and what the quality of teaching is important. Because we are beginning to also hear a lot of interest from universities, from colleges who want to start teaching this. And I think we'll see the first postgraduate diploma online quite soon. A serious 140 hours related to internet governance and policy. So this is serious business now. So can you share all your curriculum? Can you share all of these courses? And that would relate to another issue, which is the business models for these things. Are they being run for profit? Are they being run as just as a turnover-based business, or are they completely non-profit and sort of volunteer-based? And whether you're able to share curriculum and lesson plans will depend on how much you can share that intellectual property. But as organisations, and it's not just ICANN, but organisations that people come. I love this chair. That people come to, seeking support of various types, then, this is the kind of thing that would help us as we justify budgets and so on and so forth. And it's not just budgets, it's also people. Because if you ask for an ICANN person to attend for a week, that's a lot of time, 4 or 5 days of some staff time, and that's almost every SIG. That is a lot of resource. That's more than money in many ways. So, how is it going to be coordinated? Is it the dynamic coalition? Is it this one? Because you can't keep going to 2 meetings every day to do all this and follow 2 different tracks. So help organisations, because it's not just ICANN. I'm trying to think that you really need an infrastructure of support. So who's it going to be? You have to help us help you. So these are the things we sort of need. What are you doing? What are the courses, costs, and all of the rest of that, please.
Thanks, Adam. I think you've asked some very pertinent questions. Some of it we will discuss as we go by. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, just to react to Adam, this is important to know exactly what's happening, what are the curricula, universities, degrees, but also other trainings. And I just want to let others who haven't heard about this study know that the ITU has mandated the study that people worked on, kind of trying to map the gaps in internet governance courses, and we've also looked at schools of internet governance and other types of training. And this report is available online, and the ITU is having an open forum on Thursday, 11:20, when I know they intend to kind of continue into discussion and capacity development and internet governance.
Thanks for that input. One of the related developments, is that in Asia Pacific there is a new organization or a consortium formed called APASA in response to some of these issues. Earlier the SIGs were approaching for funding, at least ICANN, ISOC, so different APNIC, for example, individually. Each SIG was applying. But now these organizations have formed a kind of consortium called APASA, Asia Pacific Alliance in support of schools and academies with internet governance. That is the full form. And it's a single window kind of all the requests have to be routed to a PASA only. They will then decide who among their members will support this. I'm just mentioning it as a development, partly maybe in order as a response to the questions that Adam has posed now. We will now quickly run through the rest of these 6, maybe 1 minute or so. From Sri Lanka, can you start?
Hello, I'm Maheshwara from Sri Lanka. I have a query. As AP6 mission is to create trainers in the region to get National 6 more powerful. So we have to very clearly identify who are the people attending the AP6. So this is a problematic issue that I have to raise here within the group. We can discuss that on. Regarding Sri Lanka, we had a first SIG. Our mission was to get a strategic support to acknowledge the participants for Internet Governance Forum of Sri Lanka. So it was the main idea behind the forming the SIG. So we had 32 participants for the SIG, all are local, and we try to get maximum from the all multi-stakeholder participation, but minimum from the government, because normally they are not turning out to these kind of events, 5-day events. So only one trainer came, otherwise government participation as a student, it's zero. Okay. Sri Lanka SIG has decided to structure the process of IG rather than IGF. So I believe we have a topic to discuss on that in the agenda, so I'm not going to reflect on that. We have a big challenge. One is language. And we have to turn the stakeholders, because we have technical people who are not willing to come into the civil part of the school. So we decided to have 6-day course, so 6 events in all our year with different topics, with discussing multiple perspectives on the same issue. So that will be the next step that we are going to take.
Thank you, Maheshwara. Yes, Nata, please.
Yeah, just one point about picking up one point that Adam mentioned. To have, for example, an IGF mag at the SIG, it could take conversation with the whole mag and with the outreach group and so on, and there's funding as well. So for a whole week to have a mag would be difficult. But many of us here are engaged in the IGF. So my suggestion for the SIGs as well, and given that the SIGs are also entering intersessional activities, would be to reach out to the IGF activities more and to integrate more. So for example, in the main sessions, I have been inviting some dynamic coalitions to give updates. It would be good to have updates also from the people from the SIG. So for example, Nepal SIG, tell us their views on digital economy or South School. So I just want to leave that door open and say that you are very needed. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Glenn, would you like to raise a question now? After that, we'll go to the other SIG.
Sure. Because we're in a formation of creating our first school of internet governance, 3 days, and it's just before the ICANN 61. What we've done is we've looked at best practices as a participant in the African, Indian, and Southern School. We were able to pick their brains and figure out what is a good curriculum. And as all of you, if it's before the ICANN meetings, you try to take advantage of the talent pool in the community, whether at large, NCUC, ICANN, people to come and speak on particular topics, and we've done the same thing. One of the things we've been successful at is raising money. And we have 40 fellowships that we're offering to people. That's flight and accommodation during the meeting. Now that's open to only North Americans. And if it's undersubscribed, I'm not sure what we'll do with that. I can't really speak on that matter now, but we have to, the North Americans open to the mid-January. You gotta remember, there was something called a hurricane in Puerto Rico. And that caused a lot of problems, even for our applications to the next gen. So one of the things, and I'm gonna share this with you, is look at the fellows. There's roughly, what, 30 fellows each time that I can. You know, talk to Sarah Noosh and talk to Deborah of the next gen. And, you know, those are very interesting people. We have a database of every fellow that we've created for ICANN, database based on what countries they're from and what their interest is. And it's interesting, take the time and look at the last survey done by ICANN and find out, look at how many of them have not continued participating, which is a very interesting survey. But what is critical is looking and talking to those two groups, Sarah Noosh and Deborah, saying, okay, we're going to be providing accommodation where if we have space, what a great opportunity for the next gen and the fellows to participate in your group. One of the other things that we're approached, and again, this addresses what Adam was saying, we were approached by ICANN staff saying, you know, there's separate budget items there for board members. So if you want a board member as a panelist or speaker, there's a separate budget there. Okay, so I'm not telling tales of school. I'm just telling you that's what they told us. So yes, ICANN is one of our sponsors. Only one. Not the dominant one, but one. And it's ISOC is one, not the dominant one as well. So what we did is we worked closely with the ISOC chapter to do what we're doing. And we went to all the different sponsors. And I strongly suggest looking at who we got as sponsors and do it, you know, knock on their door saying, hey, they funded you, why not us?
Thanks, Glenn.
Just a request, can you bring your mics towards yourself and speak? Some of the remote participants are unable to hear clearly.
Sandra, please.
I want to do a critical remark on what Glenn just has said and on what has also what is an observation. In Glenn's contribution, just the word ICANN appeared quite a lot. And while ICANN is a very important stakeholder and a very important issue on schools and internet governance, I sometimes have the feeling that we are missing the point if we concentrate and focus too much on ICANN. Internet governance is much more. It has a political dimension, there is a history, it's about human rights, and this is something, I mean, while I really can understand and appreciate that if you're doing a summer school before an ICANN meeting just to have the expertise there, you kind of risk making it too ICANN focused, and this would not cover internet governance as such. There is an ITU process behind, there is a UN process behind, there are lots of issues from what the BRIC states are doing, from what the Western world is thinking, or what Asia Pacific is going on, and all these things you would not cover if you only rely on ICANN as the resource for experts and fellows and so on and so forth. So I just want us to keep that in mind. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to connect it to an ICANN meeting. Sometimes that's the point to get it started, and that's good, and everyone should take that opportunity. But keep in mind that you have to expand beyond ICANN issues. Otherwise, you're not getting the full picture of internet governance.
I think that's a very valid point. Thanks for raising that. Said, would you like to speak a few words about Afghanistan?
Yes, hi, this is Saeed. We organize an event, School of Internet Governance in Afghanistan. I think one thing that is that we can see is that there are some institutions like SIG and the South School, and then we have the national SIGs. We deal schools as events, not as institutions on its own in the country. So for us, it's slightly different. Our resources are still dependent on APSEG and other organizations, such as ICANN and the rest. Again, not emphasizing on ICANN too much, but other regional players in the country. Also, the lectures, we talked about how these courses should be more academic and should it not be. In our understanding, our lectures were delivered by the experts available in the country. And they were mostly like professionals working as regulatory authority experts, as fund developers, and the whole 9 yards. So they were more experts in who had the expertise of the industry. So there comes that touch of non-academic presentations and lectures in the courses. We also tried to customize our school through setting up a theme. Like in the first school, we had a theme of access and infrastructure. And so we focused mainly on talking about issues relating to the fiber optic connections and access to of internet to the children, to the youth, and to women in particular. I also want to talk about the integration that Renata talked about. How do we continue our efforts beyond the school? How can we encourage participants in writing up a blog story or doing up a research article? So this school was not only giving lectures to the participant, but it was also a platform where students or participants who are particularly interested in researching a particular topic, they know who to talk to. So now, like in our case, when we did that school, it was the first time that the students said that, oh, we actually know, so there's a telecom regulatory authority, and that person is the expert that we should talk to. Or that professor from that university has an expertise in a particular topic. So this was also a platform for all the people, not only participants, but also the lecturers who also come to learn from students and other speakers. I think that's it. Let me try to unlock my phone. Also, another thing that we were very concerned about is the unavailability of the content in the local language, particularly in our case. So not only we have to run these schools, but at the same time we are also encouraging people to develop content on the topic of internet governance in the local languages. And for that reason, I think we need to, again, integrate with other organizations such as probably Diplo Foundation, APSIG, and many other, in terms of localizing the content that is already available. Thank you.
Thank you, Syed. Noting that we're running out of time, I'd like to ask any other SIG representatives who are planning or have already done a SIG to very briefly talk about the challenges and any other things that they want to kind of highlight. So, Baburam from Nepal.
This is Baburam from Nepal. Thank you very much, Satish. Actually, one major issue of running a School of Internet Governance is target audience, whether it's beginners or middle level or what, and bringing the interest of that new generation and the resource persons generation, that also is somehow I found some gap on that. Very new people who are university graduate students, they have their own different interest, and senior people, they have their own different interests. So sometimes this is also a very important thing to manage through the curriculums. So it's very important to have good curriculums with interaction with various stakeholders and generation as well. Thank you.
Satish, a quick point
Thank you,
here.
Yes, Amrita.
So when we're talking about the schools of internet governance, as Sandra pointed, it has to be much more than the 5 days or 6 days when people are learning. It has to be making them more resourceful, knowing whom to reach for what, networking, so that they can contribute. The end of it, they have to be able to contribute to the community. And I think, having mailing lists or the social media groups of WhatsApp or Skype, etc., does help. And we are seeing a lot of traction in SIG. People are participating, getting to know about the opportunities, and that possibly, if the other SIGs are doing, is great, or you might look at it.
Thank you, Amrita. One point in response to what Syed was highlighting about the need for continuing activities beyond the 3 days or 1 week of the SIG. It's interesting that APSIG has a fellowship program for IGF For APSIG, IGF is a very important activity. APSIG would like to see much more contributions from the Asia Pacific region in the IGF. And for that purpose, they're encouraging people to attend the IGF by providing fellowships. There is a Amazon funded 3 seats, plus APSIG own funded another 3 seats, which is fully or partly. So this support is available, and the APSIG would like to enhance it to about 10 in the next 2 to 3 years, subject to availability of funds, because it considers IGF to be the real proof of the pudding, as it were. You run a school, people come, people go. What is their contribution after that? As Glenn was pointing out, many of them do not contribute. But IGF is seen as a kind of way to kind of continue the ongoing engagement with internet governance. A couple of other points about APSIG. One is that it funds most of its participants. Like we said, they are trainers, training kind of a school. There's a strict selection criteria. The location has been now more or less finalized at Bangkok. We did try other places, but finally we have converged on Bangkok. Yeah, and also a couple of points regarding INSIG. In INSIG case, we are going across different cities. We covered 2 cities now. The next 3 years are already charted out. We have until 2020, all the venues are already identified. Another is the use of multiple formats for the actual class sessions. Now, lectures obviously are the most, because you pump information into people, and lectures are very effective, but it sometimes gets to be very boring, sometimes overwhelming, as somebody pointed out. So we, in INSIG, we have a variety of different, one of the most successful items in the INSIG edition a few months back was a role play, a multi-stakeholder role play on internet shutdowns. So finally it became a very heated debate.